I talked about what we're doing for veterans, and I know the American Legion has done a lot of great things, and I think that's important. But I also think it's important, as somebody that's honored to receive this award, to talk about, how I believe military service has informed what I have done as governor. Because I don't think I would have been a successful governor had I not served in our nation's military. And I go back after 9/11, and I hadn't been planning on joining the military, but I felt it was an inflection point for our country. Obviously, there were conflicts that came out of that. And so I raised my hand, and a lot of people were like, well, wait a minute. You have degrees from Yale and Harvard, and you're going into the military? Like, why would you? Because, quite frankly, I would have made a lot more money. I can tell you that. Once I got that ensign salary, I was like, yeah, I'd be doing better. But it was important to me because, I felt that was an inflection point, and I felt that I wanted to be a part of defending the country in whatever way that I could do it. And so that's really what drove me to do it. But what it really taught me is the true nature of leadership, about putting service above self. I think about the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all look back, Florida was the free state, open, everything. No one will admit that they opposed me on all this stuff back then. But I can tell you, we had a massive hysteria that erupted in this country. The media was stoking fear. Politicians were stoking fear. So-called experts were stoking fear. And they were basically telling us that we had to just be cooped up in homes. Kids couldn't go to school. Businesses were just supposed to stop indefinitely with really no end in sight. And I knew that that wasn't the right thing in terms of freedom, but I also looked at the data and the underlying data, and I knew that they were not accurately saying what was actually going on. So we were serious about it. I mean, we treated, did a lot to help folks who were faced with this, but we had to stand by people's right to work and earn a living, people's right to operate businesses, kids' right to go in and learn in person in school. And in every one of those decisions in those early days of COVID, I was met with overwhelming opposition, and not just from media, which is obviously liberal, not just from my political opponents, which are obviously, going to get upset at me if I cross the street at the wrong time, but even many of the people who helped elect me, voters and other people of my own party. And the polls were just unbelievable against me on everything I was doing in those early days. I had a lot of people tell me, you're doing it wrong. People are not, they don't agree with what you're doing. You're going to end up not being able to be reelected and all this stuff, and you're throwing away, your entire political standing by doing that. And I didn't know whether that was true or not, but I also didn't care whether that was true or not, because the job of me as a leader was to be more concerned with protecting the jobs of the people I represent than I was concerned with protecting my own job or political hide. I had to make the right decisions. I had to get out in front of public opinion, put that stake in the ground and say, this is where we're going to go in Florida. And sometimes you can make the right decisions in politics and it may not work out for you politically, but I had resigned, so be it. I am not going to contort myself into some pretzel and turn my back on the people that need me because I'm worried about poll numbers or I'm worried about the next election. And so we were able to do that, and this country would not have responded had Florida not led the way out of that. And we're proud of doing it. And I don't know that had I not had that background of military and understanding there are things bigger than you, and it's not just about you, that it's about the overall mission, I don't know whether I would have had the fortitude to stand in there and do what's right. The other thing that I think, and it was mentioned many times, we have disasters that can strike in the state of Florida. There's nothing on the horizon right now, knock on wood. We'll see. It's been quiet, but it only takes one, so we're ready. But when you have hurricanes and you have disaster response, you're either going to lean into that, you're going to use all the levers available to you to protect the people you represent, help them get back on their feet, or you just play the blame game. And the thing is, when you go in and lean in on all this stuff, if something doesn't work out, they blame you. If you say, hey, no, that's the local's responsibility, or that's this person's responsibility, not my responsibility, go blame them, well, then things don't get done. So if you look at Florida, in the major hurricanes we've had, we've seen the restoration of millions and millions of people's power in a matter of hours or a day or two. Never seen that before in the history of any of these hurricanes at that scale. That was planning. That was staging all the linemen, tens of thousands of them before the storm. That's sending people in as soon as the storm passes so that we can get people on their feet. Our search and rescue efforts to be able to rescue people when that is necessary, and sometimes it is, as soon as it's safe to do. We have guys down there on the ground doing that. We don't let bureaucracy or red tape slow down our determination to help people in need. When Hurricane Ian hit in southwest Florida, it severed a bridge from the mainland to Pine Island. They were told, the residents, that it was a 6-month project. Now, it wasn't Florida's bridge. It was a local road. And they came to me and asked if I can help. I said, I'm going to help. We got our guys together. I say, throw the bureaucracy out. I want this bridge built. We've got to get it done. They cannot wait 6 months. The island will die. So we took ownership of it, and 3 days later, we opened the bridge going out to Pine Island. We did the same thing at the Sanibel Causeway. A week into the storm, it was broke in 3 places. We took ownership. 2 weeks later, we connected the causeway, and people had access to that. You know, you look in like Baltimore, they had a bridge go down. They haven't even started. I mean, nothing has happened for that. That's not how we roll in Florida. We've got to get the job done. I mentioned that then Senator Collins was involved in these rescue operations. You know, when there are Floridians in harm's way in other parts of the world, it's typically not a state that goes in and does it. But in 2023, we had a difficult time working with the Biden administration and the State Department, so I said, okay, we'll do it. So we sent our folks. They were on the ground. They got these people to safety. In Haiti, very difficult situation, same thing. And then most recently in Israel with the Iran-Israel conflict, the 12-day war. We don't let our people, we're going to be there. We're going to get your back when the times are tough. I don't know that I would have had that same resolve to get the job done no matter the obstacles had I not served in our nation's military. The other thing and final thing that I think the military taught me is, you know, theatrics is one thing, but I'm in the business of accomplishment. I'm not in the business of entertaining or showing you a good time. My role is to actually get the job done. We focus on results, not fluff. Words can be meaningful. Words can be important, but ultimately it's the deeds that are the most powerful. And so we focus on delivering tangible results to the people we represent. That is not the way a lot of people in the political sphere operate. A lot of it is window dressing. A lot of that is trying to, maybe you get on cable news, maybe you do that, maybe you do that. You talk, and then there's never any follow through. Anytime I step up to these podiums and I say we're going to do something, you can expect action on the back end of that. That will get done. And that's the ethos that you learn when you're serving in our nation's military. It's about the mission. It's about accomplishing the mission, and none of the fluff ultimately matters unless you get the job done. So I think this is all really important, what you guys do. I mentioned the 250th anniversary of our country that we're going to celebrate next July 4th to mark the Declaration of Independence. And it's interesting, we declared independence there. We didn't really achieve it because we had a war to fight. And a lot of people correctly surmised that we were the underdogs in that conflict. But I think if you go back to that time and you think about what that means, our founding fathers, they didn't sign that Declaration of Independence lightly. It's not like they just popped off on social media and put something on Facebook. They went up to a table and they signed their names knowing that if the revolution failed, they had just signed their death warrants, because that would have been the penalty for what they did. They pledged their lives, they pledged their fortunes, and they pledged their sacred honor. That was meaningful. And these delegates were people that were very successful. It's not like this was like a ragtag group of people. These were accomplished people. These people had a lot to lose, and they were willing to do it because they ultimately understood that you were either going to have a free society or you were not. And Benjamin Franklin put this very crisply when he walked out of the Constitutional Convention, which happened a decade later in Philadelphia in 1787. He was asked, Dr. Franklin, did you give us a republic or a monarchy? And his answer was a republic if you can keep it. They understood you could have the best Declaration of Independence in the world, you could have the best Constitution in the world. These things do not run on autopilot. They require every generation of Americans to step up and defend those principles and our freedoms, and that can take many different sacrifices. It may require people to put on a uniform, go out and stand in harm's way, risk your life, and even give your life in service to this country and what it stands for. It may require sacrifices far less than that, but it does require effort, and it does require us to understand that we are the inheritors of a once-in-a-millennia opportunity to have a society that believes that no, government doesn't give us our rights are endowed by God, that the purpose of government is to protect the rights that we already possess, that we want to live under a rule of law, not the whim of individual men, that ultimately a written constitution that lays out limitations on government's power is the best framework we have to make sure that we can enjoy peace and prosperity, not just for us, not just for our kids and grandkids, but for subsequent generations. And none of that could survive without people who are willing to wear the uniform.